Hey, you're fine.
All right. Looks
Got
like
a
an
little.
angel. I should put it here so I look like an angel.
Can you put it like right behind your monitor or something? So it's like I don't want it to be like in your face, but
Let me see.
play with it. We'll play. We'll play. Definitely not
Not
that.
good.
That's terrible.
Wow. Not good.
Whatever that is, don't do that.
Oh, that.
That could work. My God, you're gorgeous.
It looked like
Ah,
Zeus himself came out of the sky.
look like a mixture of Fergie and Jesus.
I'll take it.
All right, man. It's 7:59. I'll count it. It's 8 o'clock.
All right.
So we missed you last week. It was kind of on me. Couldn't coordinate or whatever, but yeah, it happens. We get busy. We got a family, all that stuff. So we actually wanted to get started on talking about goals. You haven't really talked to me much about it because we wanted to keep me fresh. We want to make this as genuine as possible. So are we talking about like setting goals? Are we talking about determining what goals you want, how to go after them, this type of mindset, a little bit of all the above?
Kind of all the above.
Okay,
I made a couple notes, which I almost never do, but there's like certain things. I guess it's not my style, but there are certain things that like specific questions I want you to ask yourself during the process. So I will
sure.
reference that at some point. Um, So goals are massively important. Like I touched on last time, we're literally goal-seeking organisms. It's what we're supposed to do, right? We're set out to do this. And I know you don't have them, and we're fresh with that, and it's awesome. But before we talk about goals, and I want to, I guess, preface this with anybody listening, I'm going to give a 30,000-foot view that's going to get you started on the right direction. These things can be deep, right? And so you should seek out your own understanding of things, right? Like this is to give you information, like we talked about before. Like you have to take ownership of your health. You have to take ownership of your life, right? That's the whole point of this. So let's stimulate the brain cells and let's get them going in that direction. And this will head you there very quickly. But before we talk about goals, we have to talk about values because your
Okay.
values will literally determine your goals. So until I don't want to start setting goals with anybody until we know what our core values are, and almost no one knows what those things are anymore. And so, some very interesting things that have come out is psychologists did a study where let me figure out how to word this. The more you acted in accordance on a daily life, and the moment you're in, the more in the moment you're living, according to your belief systems and your values, the happier you are. So,
Okay. So almost
basically,
being like true to yourself kind of thing.
right.
Okay.
So happiness doesn't come from all, like we know this, right? Everybody's like, oh, happiness doesn't come from money and
Can't
blah,
buy
blah, blah,
happiness,
and
blah blah
fame
blah.
and all this stuff. But if you don't even know what your core values are, right? So instead of just doping people up with medication, we need to literally stop and ask, right? Stress, you can take any stressful, once you know your goals, it'll be glaringly obvious. Or your values. So we'll get there. But you can take anybody who is undergoing stress or depression or anxiety or whatever this is. And I actually just had like a bout of this for like 24 hours where I was like, what in the heck?
What's going
And I
on?
forgot, of course, right? This
Yeah.
divine intervention, this podcast comes up. I'm like, oh, let me go look at this, right? So I go back and look at my values. I'm like, oh, here, here, and here, I'm actually not living in accordance with what I believe is a core value to me. That's why I'm stressed. So the farther you are away from those goals, the more, or the values, the more unhappy you're going to be as a person, right? That's just how it works. So
Sure.
I
And
would
I mean
say,
that makes perfect sense too,
perfect
right?
sense. Anybody who is successful in life will be able to tell you their at least five core values on whatever that is, whether it's career, family,
Sure.
someone who's a baller mom, like she's going to have badass values on her family, right? That's going to be her top priority. That's awesome. So career, finances, whatever those are, they're going to have a core set of values. So we need to find that core set of values. And it's actually pretty interesting. And I've said this in other, I believe I've said this in other podcasts or The Office, or it just all gets jumbled together. But you can, I can observe, like I could come and observe your life, and I could tell you without you even knowing the deepest beliefs of your subconscious mind, which then in turn are your values, because it is made manifest in your life. Does that make sense? So whether you're conscious of it or not, your values are going to come out and be expressed, and your beliefs that you don't even know you have are going to be expressed.
Well,
So
sure.
let's take the reins and be in control of this, right? Let's take massive action, massive responsibility, which we've talked about before. And one of my favorite things Brian Tracy says, if anybody reads, listens, or talks to anything about it, anything that happens in your life, he tells you, and I wish I came up with this, but nothing's original, so it is what it is. But
we're all stealing from everyone, man.
We're all stealing from everyone. But it has massively changed my life. So if anybody takes anything away from this, whatever you're going through, whatever's going on, if you literally stop and tell yourself, I am responsible, you immediately shift from the victim into someone who's in control of the situation, right? When you are not responsible, you're a victim. Shit happens to you. You get it's not good, right? And that's
everyone else's fault. And it's a key flaw in whether you want to say health, fitness, society. It's so easy. Look, I can't even tell you how many times growing up, playing baseball, playing football, the refs blew that call. They lost the game for us. No. Yeah, maybe they blew that call, but they didn't lose the game. You put yourself in that situation for that call to matter for you to lose the game. Like it's something that we've all experienced it growing up, and now being a little bit older and seeing it. There's that whole blame game, that whole victimization, and it's deflecting all this kind of responsibility. I don't want someone to blame me, so it's not my fault. I don't want it, that kind of thing. So what you're saying is then, as soon as we flip that switch and say, no, this is my fault. I failed because of me. I succeeded because of me. You're already putting yourself in an empowered position to take charge of what happens next. Whether that's picking yourself up off the ground because you got knocked down, or whether that's continuing to take those next steps, to achieve whatever it is you want.
Yep.
Awesome.
Whatever it is. Whether it's divorce, it doesn't matter. If you stop back and go, I am responsible, you become in a massively powerful position. And that's what we want, right? We want to be in that power position. We want to be the guardian at the gate. We want to be the controller of our reality, which we have the ability to be as long as we're not lazy, right?
Sure.
Which takes responsibility and massive action. So there's a few things. So what happens is, now basically what I described to you is I can observe your outer reality and tell you everything going on inside. So that tells us that the outside is just a reflection of the inside, right? And we can get into my office and a whole other podcast about how that matters. But how this actually matters is you have a value system, right? Your values, which we will create, will then determine your beliefs. Your beliefs will then determine your expectations for the world and what's going to happen to you. Your expectations are going to then determine your attitude towards the world, and your attitude is then going to create feelings, and those feelings are then going to create the actions that you then take in life. So if you have positive values,
sure,
and you have positive belief systems, right? You believe good things are going to happen to you. You believe people are good. You believe that the world is conspiring to literally give you everything you desire, right? Then you start to expect those things to happen, right? Then you start to see, just like I said before, blue F-150s. Right now it's in your brain. The reticular activating system is going to look for them. So because your values are so strong, they've been pushed into your belief system, which now is going to push into your expectations. You're literally going to start to expect things to happen. Like, I expect X, Y, and Z, right? Then when those things start to happen, you start to get a really good feeling inside, right?
It's like a confidence boost.
Confidence booster, right? And so then guess what? Your attitude skyrockets. Now you're living life congruent with your values. So your attitude's amazing. So you start to feel happy, right? And then all of your actions that you take from that moment on, because they're congruent with your values, are headed in the direction that you want them to go, which then we will shape goals around. So literally everything comes from the inside, not the outside, which is what all of health and fitness and everything has wrong. So if your values aren't congruent, or if you're not living life with your values that are congruent because you don't know them, life is going to create a massive discord for you, right? Because internally you're like, I should be doing X, Y, and Z, and externally you're doing A, B, and C.
Right. You're creating a conflict within yourself.
Right.
And if you're creating a conflict within yourself, then there's nowhere else for it to go but expand outward.
Right.
So how could you possibly ever assume that anything good or anything, powerful is going to happen to you if you're all mixed up and screwed up on the inside?
Yep. Which is literally the basis of everything we should be talking about, right? So when someone were to come in and they're like, hey, I'm depressed, I have X, Y, and Z, and I don't know what's going on. It's like, all right, let's figure this out. Let's take you through the steps. Let's put you back in the driver's seat. Because here's the deal. You're in control. If you don't like a value, then it's not for you. Right? Like, they're not gonna have the same values. Like, it's like someone who's like, well, I don't want to have a budget because then I'm limited on what I can do. Well, who made the budget? You did. So if the gym's not important to you, it's not an expense that month.
Yeah.
You're in control of everything, no matter how out of control you think you are. So understand that, anybody who's listening, right? And it just takes baby steps. You just have to answer some questions. And this is how everything works. One breadcrumb is going to lead to the next. You're going to start to answer some of these questions that I have wrote down for later. And you're going to be like, oh my God, it feels good answering these questions. Then you're going to go, I don't know. I just listed 20 values. Which ones really matter? Holy shit, 4 of these are kind of the same thing. Well, I can condense them down into one. And then the next thing you're going to know is because Amazon listens to everything, or whoever listens to everything, the book's going to pop up and it's going to be like how to achieve your goals in 24 hours, because no one understands anything takes time, but whatever, buy the book, read the book. It's the next step in evolution. All of nature, and we are part of nature, right? All of nature is constantly in expansion. It has to be, period. Everything's looking to evolve in every way possible. We want, perfect example, if you have a 300 square foot apartment, or what, I think I had like a 500 square foot apartment, it was full to what it was. Well, then I moved to a 1,500 square foot apartment. Well, guess what? In 6 months, I filled that space, right? Because I'm constantly in expansion in every way. There's no different. That's no different than your consciousness. That's no different than your mind. That's no different than your business, right? Every business thrives because they're in expansion. Any business right now in this moment that goes into expansion and growth and not contraction because of coronavirus will be the best businesses in the next 10 years. You'll see, because we understand that even in times like this, we are constantly looking to evolve and to expand, right? Literally what's happening, again, and just because it's relevant, coronavirus is updating your nervous system. It's making you a healthier, stronger human being to handle life. That's amazing. Nature's literally doing it for us. Now, what I'm teaching us here is, with the values, is let's be the guardian at the gate. Let's take the reins of what we want in life. And I literally just explained to you the law of attraction, right? It's not put something up on a screen and all of a sudden it happens, or else Pamela Anderson would have been in my bed when I was 14 years old because I talked about it nonstop, and it didn't happen, right? Because I didn't believe that was something that could happen, and that's a whole nother topic, right? But values dictate beliefs, which dictate expectations and attitude and actions. That's your law of attraction. And then in that we put goals, and we're going to get there, right? And everything takes time. That's fine. That's fine. So I'm a big fan of, and this is, I say all the time, is like stack the deck, right? Create a life that puts you in a position to stack the deck in your favor if you want something. Do all the little things that are going to stack the deck. So, I don't know, some of my questions that I guess we can jam a little more before I get into like what people should ask themselves, but I don't know, you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I mean, but I think what you're saying so far makes sense. And for the average individual maybe who doesn't have, I think sometimes people get overwhelmed when it comes to, diving in and really do some, self-searching, soul-searching, whatever you want to call it, about your values, about your goals. Those can be uncomfortable, whether you're talking about them, with one of my best friends, or on the internet with a bunch of people, or even with yourself. Like it's a very personal type conversation. And I think, and I hate to always keep coming back to the we live in a society thing, because I think it's a little overdone. But we do. I think we live in a society where we seek comfort and we try to
Sure.
avoid these uncomfortable situations and the challenges. And we we don't want to necessarily work hard. And again, just to tie it into like, I know, I'll let you go in a second. just to just to tie it into like the fitness sense, like I think that's why so many people. I believe that deep down, and maybe it's not everyone, but I would say a vast majority of people do want to be healthy. Okay, I can't. I'm going to say 100% of people want to be healthy. I can't think of one person who's just like, nah, I don't feel like being healthy anymore.
Right. I want to feel like shit for the rest of my life.
But then it's the executing, it's the putting it into action, and I get it. Look, I was someone who was able to put fitness into make a career out of it, make it a part of my life, but not everyone's able to do that. Like some people, have to work their 9 to 5 and they're exhausted by the end of the day. And I get not wanting to go to the gym or do, what you need to, to achieve those goals. So I think where people, once they get past that, uncomfortable kind of soul searching, really diving into yourself, I think people start getting lost in the execution because it's hard and it's, again, not to be repetitive, but it's difficult to do hard things. Like, duh.
By design, right? Because if creating a business was easy, everybody would do it. So by design, it's difficult to do difficult things. But I think there's a few things you touched on in there that are huge. And one of them is we've created this docile society, right? It's not how we lived before, blah, blah, blah. Well, anxiety, depression, all of these things are at an all-time high. So the more docile we become, the less challenging things we want to do, the less we want to conquer things, right? The more depressed we get because we're not activating that warrior within. We're not activating this primal substance that we were born with, which was expand, hunt, kill, find shelter, expand our land, our territory, whatever that was, right? Fight for our lives. That's not being expressed anymore, which is okay. But whatever. But
not going to take over my neighbor's condo, just break down the door and bash him in. But I think I get what you're saying. Is we've created this level of comfort. Like, okay, think about it. Every new invention is about making your life more comfortable or easier. Okay. My timing is probably going to be off, so bear with me. But let's say in the 70s, there was no remote control garages. You know how you pulled the car in the garage? You stopped the car, you got out of the car, you opened the door, you got back in the car, you pulled the car in, you closed the door. Okay, right there is a little bit of physical activity that nobody does anymore.
Nope.
Nobody. Because if you hit you either don't have a garage or you hit a button and then you slowly roll into the garage and then you hit a button and it comes down.
Anymore.
It's like now it's on, I don't know, I'm poor, but maybe they have censored ones where it just senses your car roll up. You don't even have to reach up and hit the button anymore.
Right.
But that is what, so my guess, and again, this is me just kind of rolling with it and hypothesizing or whatever. Maybe we are in this state where our anxieties, our depressions are at such an all-time high is because we have become so comfortable doing next to nothing. Now the littlest things set us on edge. And, whether it's, butting heads with, a classmate or maybe it's just overall, general anxiety about worrying about things outdoors, sickness, viruses, money, whatever it is. I mean, now it's because we are now so comfortable. We want everything done for us. Everything is basically done for us. You brought up the, everything's listening to you. If you got an Alexa in your kitchen right now, like it's probably ordering toilet paper because it knows you're almost out. Like you don't even have to do that anymore.
We're literally evolving as a species when we want to evolve, right? We're headed in the wrong direction. And I think that, again, we've probably touched about this before. We have a brain made for 50,000 years ago that's not meant to understand iPads and all these things. And so it gets so overloaded all the time that we never take a break, right?
Well, that's why these things, anything with a screen, sorry, and I'll let you go again. But anything with a screen is so addicting because our brain is not built is not like this is new. We're in the grand scheme of Earth technology. Humans. Screens are relatively new. And I think that's why they're so addicting. Like you can put a child in front of a TV and they just go blank and they stare for hours. I mean, look at us. People our age with phones. Apple gives you your time check. At the end of each week, and it's hours a week staring at this little thing. It's because it's so well created. Like everything again, and going back to the ease of everything. Everything's that touch of a finger, you keep scrolling. And that's another thing that, was absolutely brilliant and also terrible at the same time. The use of the scrolling feed where there's no actual stop. It just goes and goes and goes.
This all comes back to everything we talked about.
Yeah.
You're responsible.
Yeah.
If it says 15 hours of scrolling Instagram at the end of the week, you're responsible for that. Just don't do it, right? Take ownership of your life. Understand that, hey, this is not serving me. 15 hours on Instagram, what if I cut it in half?
Yeah.
Well, that's the gym for an hour every single week, right? Or whatever that is. A book, that's a disc. I tell everybody, turn it on. Actually physically see how much time is being wasted when you say you don't have time, right? We all have a little bit more. And I guarantee you the best people in the world are not sitting around scrolling through Instagram, right? Like it's not happening. So there's, and again, I don't know where I've talked about this or not, but Lamborghini had a quote. I'll say it again.
Yeah, go for it.
It does the weirdest things. But Lamborghini has the quote, you could probably find it online, where they asked why they don't do commercials. And they said, because the people that can afford our cars don't watch TV. No apologies. That's savage, right? So everybody that sits around scrolling through Instagram, seeing all these cars on there talking about how they want it every day. Well, guess what? That's the new TV. The dude who owns it isn't finger fucking Instagram all day. I mean, it just is what it is, So I digress about that. But the whole point of all of this is you're in control. You can bring it back. And there is the overwhelm. Believe me, I understand it, right? It's like, oh my God, I got to change my diet. I got to go to the gym. I got to do this. I got to change my job. I got to change my career. I got to break up with my wife, blah, 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 all these things, right? I understand all of that. But there's just a few simple principles that if you just learn those and you stay consistent with those, that over the next 1, 2 to 5 years, your life will incrementally change and it will not be as stressful. And if you go back to the basics, they're always right. There's truths in the universe. There's truths in the physical realm. There's all these things that are truths, which is why coronavirus doesn't scare me, because I understand the physical laws and I understand the universal laws of the body and the nervous system and how things work. So it's not a scary thing to me. But people who don't understand that, and that we still need to educate on that, can get very bent out of shape and distorted. It's no different than this, right? So all we have to do, like I said, it's very simple. Let's make it simple. Let's not get crazy. You have your values. We're going to help you find those values. And then any time in the next year that you feel stressed or anxiety or depression, stop, pull out your values, look at it, if it's family or career or personal or financial or health, and be like, wow, what I'm doing right now is not congruent with these values. How do I redirect? It almost gives you the course, right? It's you're the captain of the ship, right? It literally gives you the coordinates without even having a goal of, hey, and look, if it doesn't feel good, it generally isn't good. Your gut, your heart will always tell you what direction to lean or go and how to do that.
Right. Hell, I've used that exact explanation when teaching exercises. I was just like, look, and again, I always feel like I got to tie it in. It's like, look, all these exercises, and again, when it comes to training, I am a minimalist. I like the the basic movements, squat, hinge, push, press, lunge. Some sort of variation of any of those exercises. Take a handful of them. That's what we're working on today. And they're all normal, basic human movement patterns. So everyone should be able to do these unless there is some sort of injury or something preventing you from doing that. Now, generally, when I'm telling people this, I was just like, I'm not teaching you anything that your body shouldn't be able to handle. And I actually used the exact phrase that you just did. Just like, look, if something feels wrong, it's because it is. Because I'm not trying to get you to stand on your head and spin around and stop and clap and do whatever. We're moving. We're moving in very simple patterns that your body's supposed to do. And trust me, if something's wrong, your body's going to let you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So it's the same thing with everything. You literally need to do or read nothing. If you're connected, you'll have everything. You'll have all the answers and you'll know. Most people have built up such a wall to that they can't break that down, right? I want everybody to start shifting towards the evolutionary process and become stronger, healthier, and more capable every single day. I also understand that when I go at something, I go at 100%, right? Like if I want to know about goals, I'm going to read a shit ton of books. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to dissect it. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to take notes. Then I'm going to figure out what was wrong with those notes and cross-reference it with another book and go back and forth. That's me, right? That doesn't mean you don't have, like, this is what I don't like about Instagram or whatever, right? It's like if I were to go then post that, now everybody thinks the only way to get to your goals is to do what I just did.
Yeah.
No, right? It was like, that's just me. Like, I want to know everything at its core. I want to know who originated it. I want to know where the essence of it came from. And then I want to develop that in my arsenal of a toolbox and deploy later, right? To help a patient, to be able to figure out the next step in my life, to push the boundaries, because I always want to know what's next. I want to constantly push and ride that edge of life to whatever the next thing can be. And I think that everybody innately wants that. It's just scary. But that uncomfortable nature, right? Getting uncomfortable is unbelievable, because here's the thing. It's scary and it's uncomfortable until you get to that point, right? So let's use boards, for example, or an exam, because everybody's had to take some type of exam, right? Well, I'm studying for boards, right? Like part one. We'll just use that for an example. So for 5 weeks, I drank black coffee and ate Sour Patch Kids. Didn't sleep, slept like 2 hours a night, right? My dog slept on top of my head like a cat. He's a 70-pound black lab. Because I was so stressed, and he's like, "You got to calm down, Dad." You know, I knew what I had to do to get to where I wanted to be. So I grinded, and it was the most stressful, nerve-wracking thing, right? And I got all the way up to that day of boards, and I was like, oh my God, now it's peaked, right? But I'm like, fuck it, I own this shit. Let's go. Like, this is why I did what I did, so that I'm ready to handle it now. Get there, right? This, boom, take boards, flip to the other side. That really wasn't that bad. The other side is never as bad as you've mentally pretended to make it out to be. And it's the same with this. It's the same with exercise or whatever. You're going to feel good about yourself after. So it's important. Let's start with the values. Let's develop those values, and then let's build on top of that. So do you have a pen, or do you want to type it down, or do you just go back and re-listen? I'll just tell you.
I'm going to be a millennial and type it right into my phone. So
they want to get a pen or phones, because whatever.
That's what we do now.
That's what we do now. All right, and a lot of this stuff, again, I'm telling you, if you want more information, buy Brian Tracy's book, read it. It's fine. Take ownership. But if you don't, do these. These are in there. A lot of them are what he talks about, and it's very important. So the first question that I want people to ask themselves, and write about it. Make bullet points. Write a bunch of different examples down, whatever it is. Write until your hand starts to cramp, and come up with a whole bunch of different things. What makes you feel the most important? Whatever that is. Career, personal, physical, and we can go anywhere with those. And so my big 4 things that I think people should have goals on is personal and career, family, health, and finances. You can lump some of those together, or just in general have goals. But you need to think about what makes you feel most important first. Then, piggybacking off of that, what makes you feel like you have the most self-respect in life? Right? Like, what makes you feel that feeling of self-respect? And this can be anything, right? It doesn't need to be something that's happening right now. It could be something that's happened 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when you're 3. It doesn't matter. What made you feel like you had self-respect? The next one that is very important is, in your past, from this moment backwards in your life, what gives you the greatest sense of pride? What have you done that has given you a very big sense of pride? That can be sports, that can be something, right? It can be athletic, and we can pull from those experiences because there's values in those experiences. It can be school, it can be with your parents, it can be any of those types of things. All right.
And I think that's one of the things. Sorry, I just want to hop in.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things is, when people, I think, whether they are trying to think of goals, think of values, I think a lot of people think, I have to think of something big, something groundbreaking. Like it doesn't have to be, right? Like it could be something that's just, near and dear to your heart. Like to me, if I'm just gonna like spitball right here, something that makes me feel the most self-respect. And the first thing that came into mind is creating something. Okay. Now, whether that's, like you said, creating a business, all right, we created a t-shirt business together. But also to me, like, I like to draw. Bigfoot 2020, I can't even believe it. I like to draw. To me, like, that's fun. Like, that's to me, creating. It's an outlet for me. I like to see, I like to be able to put, like, a pencil. I like colored pencils. I like to put pencil to paper and kind of see where it takes me, and I draw stupid little shit. Like, I love drawing, like, Pokemon and cartoon characters and stuff like that. But that's, yeah. So, okay. So I think I just wanted to express that to, anyone watching. Like, it doesn't have to be these massive overhauls. It could be something small, something creative, something that's, near and dear to your heart.
So there's a good chance that in your values, creativity is going to be one of your core values, right? Sure. So if you're not creating, which then goes back to literally, I believe, the purpose we're all put on this planet for is the evolution of ourselves and creation. We're always in expansion. Well, you can't expand without creation because you have to push the boundaries, right? Everything's in expansion. Plants, trees, everything in nature. You can't show me something. I actually challenge you to, because it's literally an impossibility, because it's literally a law. An actual law, not a mask law, an actual law of the world in the universe that everything, all of nature has to always be in expansion.
It's like Jurassic Park, right? Life finds a way.
Life finds a way, right? And that's actually super awesome. So that's good. And it's actually funny, right? So you talk about like your heart's desire. So that's a big one, right? That's actually on the list, the next. So if there's no limits, right? Your heart's desire, what do you want to be, do, or have? Sure. It can be a car. It can be superficial. It can be whatever. But when you have no limits, what do you want to be, do, or have? And what does your heart tell you that it wants? Not what does Instagram tell you, or this, that, or the other. Okay? That's one of them. The next one is other people talk about it. They tell you to write your own obituary, right? That comes up all the time if you listen to anybody that's successful. It's actually a really good tool to work with because it's actually super important. So, did I freeze?
You're good. Every now and then. Oh, you're right.
All right. I apologize. It's raining like crazy here. So, I like to say, what reputation do you want to have, and what does your obituary want to say, right? So, you can write your own obituary or not. And then piggybacking then off of that one is, if you weren't present, and there's a group of 5 people, and Len gets brought up, what words do you want those people to use to describe you? And just start listing them.
Okay.
And then another thing that I like is take a figure. Well, I don't know. I like to kind of describe it like this is, what would your daily interactions look like at the coffee shop or at, I don't know, can you even go to coffee shops anymore? When you could go to coffee shops, what would your daily interaction be with people that you saw every day at the tire store, wherever you go, if you felt happy, peaceful, and calm and abundant all the time? Like, what would your interactions be if you walked around like The Roc, right? I mean, like if you walked around with that swagger, or if you felt like Brad Pitt.
So if you just bought a professional football league?
You just bought a professional football league, which is just the greatest thing ever.
It's fantastic.
But let's cheers to that. How would your interactions be with people? Like, literally walk yourself through. So what I did is, there's a Capital One cafe over here that's just apparently been closed forever, but that's okay. My thing when I was walking through that is, all right, how do I want to treat, feel, look, smell to these people to leave a lasting impression on them when I walk in, to where they're like, I want to remember that guy's drink because he uplifts me, he makes me feel great, he takes time. What are those things, right? So ask yourself that. And then I think another one that's just good is literally Google values and find hundreds of words that are values, right? That are just words, whatever they are. Wealth, happiness, success, great gratitude, creativeness, whatever these words are, loyalty, respect, all of these kind of things. Find that, print it out, and just read the list and just be like, ooh, respect sounds good, or loyalty sounds good, or I really don't care about wealth. Fine. So and just circle the ones. Maybe you circle 50 of them. But if they made you feel good, or it sounds like something you want to be represented as, there's something inside of you that's like, I innately like that, right? And this is the really awesome part, is no one's values are going to be the same, which then increases individuality in the world, which is what we want. Because if you act in accordance with your values, and your values are not mine, we're not going to create the same thing. We're going to create diversity. We're going to create a greater expansion of whatever this reality is, which is what we want, right? I'm all about pushing the limits, right? So you come to my office, you don't feel good, you have back pain, you have symptoms, whatever. Great. That's what we're doing. We're going to clean that up. But after that, my God, let's go past it. Let's see how far we can expand. Let's find what new realm we can push. And that's to me what it's all about. And so if that's not you, this isn't the podcast for you. My office isn't the right office for you. That's okay. But if you're honest with yourself, that's most likely what you want. You want to figure out what the next step of your evolution is, even if that's just like, hey, my marriage is falling apart. How can we fix this? Then forget financial, family, and personal goals, and just you and your wife dig in on family goals together. Be like, all right, hun, let's sit down, let's answer these questions, let's figure this out, and then let's start having our relationship, and I understand your values and you understand mine, and if we understand those values, then we can start to communicate together, right? The 5 love languages book, whatever, a bunch of people swear by it, it is what it is. It's just helping you find your values, right? Like, you value getting presents. I don't give you presents. All right, well, it's literally one of the things in there, like acts of that, right? Yeah. So it's like, all it is values. And so this is what I mean. Everything comes back to truths and principles. All you have to do is understand a few truths and a few principles, and you can change your life and literally achieve everything you want. It's not crazy. It's not hard. That's what everybody's trying to sell you a book wants you to believe. That's what everybody's trying to sell you on a podcast or a class or whatever wants you to believe, but it's not true. If you read everything now that you know the basis of this, values dictate your beliefs, dictate your expectations, dictate your attitude, and dictate your actions. You can read every law of attraction book and go, oh my God, this is the recipe for that. It is a real thing. The law of attraction is a real thing. It's called the reticular activating system. It's an actual thing that we have. But if you don't believe it, it will never come. You actually hold it farther into distance. If someone's like, hey, I want to own a Lamborghini, and that's the goal I'm going to write, which we'll get to this later, right? I'm going to own a Lamborghini. Awesome. That's great. But do you believe that you can have that Lamborghini? Because if you believed it, it would already be made manifest in your life. You're holding it in a vibrational discord where it cannot come to you because you don't truly believe it. Or it's not an actual true value because you haven't been being honest with yourself. So this whole law of attraction, what they teach you, they miss or don't miss, just don't teach the part that gets it there, which is values, beliefs, expectations, attitude, action. Boom. Massive action equals the result you want. Everybody, I don't remember who they asked, but they said something to someone that was like, whatever it was like, I found that the more action I took, the more lucky I was, right? The more work I did, the luckier I was.
It's funny how that happens.
It's funny, right? I mean, I can't remember if it's in the documentary or not, or where it was, but
sure.
You look at Michael Jordan and Kobe and stuff, and it's like, all right, well, look at what they did on outside of what you saw,
yeah,
right? read that, think about that, find that out, Google it or however you do, right? Read a book, and you'll find that they worked harder than everybody else. Like, it's funny that Kobe used to go to the gym 3 times a day. Okay. I'm not saying that the average person should go to the gym 3 times a day, but it's funny that the best in the world at his sport at the time worked harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
It's not luck.
I think I forget which one it was. It was either Kobe or Jordan. It's always one of them. But there's a story where, oh God, what was it? They would pride themselves on being, I think it was Kobe, being the first one in the gym before anyone else got there, and then being the last one after everyone left.
Yep.
And there was one story where I forget it was a rookie or a free agent sign. It was a new guy came in and actually beat Kobe to the gym one day, and the next day Kobe got up 3 hours earlier, got to the gym, and made sure he was in the gym 2 hours before that guy got his ass there.
Right. And I was listening to a podcast with like James Harrison or something, just something funny while I was driving. Right.
Absolute monster,
right?
Dude, have you seen him post NFL? He's massive.
No, only things you've sent me. But I digress. So he was always the first person there and the last person there, and he went to New England for a while. And he was like, Tom Brady's the only person that was there before. Like, he's a savage. Like, he was always, no matter what time I got there, he was there before me. Right? Again, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
The two of some of the greatest players ever worked harder than everybody else. You have that same ability. Do not be fooled, right? Yes, some athleticism is involved in sport, but it doesn't matter. Whatever. So you're not athletic. Go master the stock market. Like, Donald Trump's not throwing touchdowns, but the dude took what, $1 million and turned it into $1 billion?
So his thing is, everyone's good at something.
Yes.
Right? Like no one's got good at anything, and it drives me nuts when I hear people say like, "Oh, I'm dumb. I'm not good at anything." Blah blah blah. Because sometimes I think we get worked up into maybe we're not good in school, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a dumb person. It just means you weren't good in the school system. I have really really great friends who failed out of school or dropped out of school and now own their own business. Okay, it's like the same thing. And I heard it was probably one of the greatest. I don't know if it's a metaphor or whatever. Not a metaphor. Something. As an example. If you asked an elephant to climb a tree, you'd think it's stupid. Like, obviously, an elephant can't climb a tree. It's not built to climb a tree. But if you ask an elephant, if you asked an elephant to bowl the goddamn tree over, it's a freaking genius, right?
Unreal.
So,
Unreal.
Yeah, and I think people just need to realize that, not everyone's, maybe you're not a stud athlete. Maybe you're not, a brilliant stockbroker, or maybe you're not even, cut out. Maybe you're not a creative person. Maybe that's not for you. You don't want to create something. You don't want to, start a business or something like that. Maybe you're happy in, maybe you're a teacher. Maybe, I don't know, you work in sanitation.
I would argue even that no matter what you're doing, something is being created, right? No matter what it is, something's being created. And even if it doesn't matter where you are, work hard and you'll get the goals you want. And I think, one of the things you said about the elephant, dang it, you said something about the elephant that I thought was awesome.
I said, if you ask an elephant to climb a tree, you'd think it's stupid, but if you ask an elephant to run over a tree, you'd think it was brilliant.
Right. I don't remember.
Something
whatever it was. That was awesome. It just everything comes back to that, right? Like, you can't put everybody in a box. That's
of course
not how life works. And
everyone's got different skills. Everyone's got different habits, hobbies, skills, talents, whatever. Find your thing and invest yourself in it.
And that's what that's super important, because everybody's like, "Oh, find your thing," whatever. Well, no one tells you how to find it. We just told you how to find it, right? Your value.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Your values are going to take you there and help you find it. Then we'll build goals off of these values. But until we know the values, we can't build goals, because then you're building it on a faulty foundation, which is literally all of training, all of finances,
it
built off faulty foundations today.
It ties right back into the health conversation we had a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. People can't want it for you, all right? Just like people can't want health for you, people can't give you values. You got to come there yourself. You got to want it, all right? Like I can't, as much as I, want, my significant other, my mother, my brother, whoever, to be healthy. I can't hold their hand and take them to the gym or make them work out or make them eat a salad or, whatever. They have to do that themselves. Just like, I can tell you what I believe good values are, but maybe you don't believe that. Maybe you believe something else. I can try to, guide you. Like, let's say, you have a kid. I don't. You're going to impart your wisdom, your values, your beliefs, just like Christy is going to impart her wisdom, her values, her beliefs on your child. And then your child's going to take that, probably take some of them, adapt a couple others, bring in some of her own, and be your own person. That's the whole thing. It's again, we want to like conform so much, whether that's be with the newest fad diet or the newest workout or training or whether it's HIIT or spin or whatever.
All of that.
We're individuals. Everyone's an individual. Everyone's got to do their own thing and find their own way. And it's tough. It's it's difficult. You got to do a little soul searching, but everyone can do it.
Everybody can do it, and that's what I want you to do. So in this, right, when you're answering these questions, understand if you don't want anybody to see them, no one has to see the answers. Maybe the answers are a little dark. That's okay, but be honest with yourself because it does you no good to do anything that we just talked about and then lie, right? It doesn't do good.
Completely defeats the purpose.
And that's the whole point of why we'll share ours with you because it's good to be vulnerable, whatever, and not vulnerable just to be vulnerable because that's like a hot topic these days. But it's like, hey, these are my goals, they're my values, and this is what I'm going to accomplish in those values, right? And so you don't have to share them with anybody. They're yours. Don't tell them to anybody. Answer these questions. Look, we'll just go there because I think it's important. If you're thinking about what makes you feel important, what increases your self-respect, whatever these things are, maybe sexuality comes up in there, right? There are people that teach sexuality. They teach women how to masturbate. They teach women how to enhance their sexual experience. They do the same for men, how to control an orgasm, how to do these things, sexual transmutation. Like, don't feel weird because that's something that you feel passionate about, right? Like, understand, fuck society. Who gives a shit, right? Because guess what? The more you follow your values, the better you're going to feel, the better beliefs you're going to have, the better expectations you're going to have, the better your attitude is, and the better your actions are going to be, and you'll develop your own community that loves what you do.
I was going to say, the more you follow your passion, your values, your goals, the more you develop yourself as an individual, the more you can contribute back to society.
Yep. And I think it's important. I've read a quote once, probably 20 years ago. I can't remember.
Fancy water you got there.
Yeah. It's artesian.
Sure it is.
I fill it up with the Berkey water and put salt in it. I bought it once at the gas station. I probably filled it 50 times. But anyway, put Himalayan salt in your water. Buy a Berkey. It is what it is. But I digress. Who said it? I can't remember. But it was either 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 30,000 people. You have attributes of you that 1 in 30,000 people don't have. So basically, the town you live in, you have certain values that no one else has. Period. Not even working on them. My God, imagine if you worked on those talents, right?
Yeah.
You could accomplish what you couldn't do. And so you'll know, right? Like I see people a lot. One person, a relationship, if it's not sound, right? If your partners don't know your values, if you don't know their values, and you can't communicate those values together, like, look, I value loyalty, I value respect, or whatever. If that's not reciprocated in the relationship, see you later. Might as well get out of it now. And you don't know the values, and if you don't know them, I guarantee the other person doesn't. And I would question then, just, all right, Are these values you got because you watched The Rock's Instagram, or are these values you got because you answered the questions and did the work, right?
Yeah.
Like, do the work. Be honest with yourself. Like, don't value respect if it's not something you value, right? If that makes sense, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So
Again, you can't fake it. All right, it's got to be true to you, because the more you try to fake it, and that's how we get to where we were talking about, where you try to work on these goals that you don't necessarily value, and that's how you feel lost. That's how you get depressed. That's how you develop these anxieties and
like,
stuff
oh
like
my
that.
God, why am I not?
Then we're back at square one.
Back to square one, right? Or worse than square one.
Yeah.
Because now we feel even more like shit, right? And it's the same thing. So I've described to you values, beliefs, expectations, attitude, action, right? Well, if that's negative or bad or not congruent, you create the cycle again and again and again. And you just go, well, let's give you some medication because you shouldn't have those thoughts. Hold the fuck on. Maybe you should have those thoughts. Maybe those thoughts are what's trying to get you out of the goddamn gutter. Right? Maybe that thought is like, hey, motherfucker, get your shit together. Stop following the rat race. Stop doing whatever you're doing. Or keep doing what you're doing, but do it incongruent with the values. Right? Like, if you value time at home with your family more than you do work, tell your boss, sorry, I'm not staying late. Like, that's going to make you sick. And if he doesn't want to, get another job. Be so confident in your values that someone is going to seek you out for them, period. And they will. You will find it. And this is how it happens. If you're living in discord, right, then you're going to get sick in short terms, right?
Sure.
So let's just roll with that example. My boss always wants me to stay late. I value family time. That's a top priority to me, and I don't get to have that because of this work. Then the discord gets worse and worse and worse, and the family life gets worse and worse and worse. The second you take ownership, the second you simply are like, I'm not staying late. I don't care if I lose my job. My family comes first because that's what I chose, right, to do.
Sure.
And there's certain times in life where family should come first and certain times in life where your work needs to come first. You decide that because, again, you're in control. You make that shift. The scary thing is, you might get fired. I promise that if you stay true to those goals, yes, stress might increase for a little bit, but I promise you the breadcrumbs will fall one after the other, and the next thing you know, 6 months from now, they're going to let you go home or let you do whatever you want to do, but it will not happen if you don't know your values and draw a hard motherfucking line in the sand, period. Own your shit, right? These are my values, and I'm not compromising anymore because I'm here once. For what? What's the average life expectancy? 80 fucking years?
I don't know. It's like 70s. This is like the first time. Yeah, this is like the first time the age expectancy has gone backwards. So I think we're back to the 70s on them.
Yeah. So we're fucking devolving because people aren't doing this.
That should tell you something.
So that should tell you something. So find your values, draw a line in the sand, and own it like a man. You want to talk about conquering. You want to talk about how we used to live back in the day, right? And win and thrive and farmed for ourselves and fought wars if we had to. We were savages. Get back to being a savage. These are my values. This is the line. You're either on it or you're not, period. And watch your life fucking change. It's simple. It's difficult. And the end result is amazing.
I dig it.
Done. That's it.
So just to recap, because I was writing these down, but I just want to make sure, and if just in case anyone's listening who wants to try them too, I'll read them back to you because I want to make sure I got them written down, and because I may have like adjusted the words, but I want to make sure I got the essence. First, number one, what makes you feel the most important? Okay. Number two, what makes you feel the most self-respect? Number three, in your past, what gives you the greatest sense of pride?
Or like, what have you accomplished that gives you the greatest sense of pride?
Okay, in your past,
game-winning touchdown. What? Yeah, I mean anything, right?
Yeah. So I'll say in the past, what accomplishments? So you're looking for something specific.
Yeah. And there's one more I want to add in there too. That
Like subset of this one.
Yeah, subset of that one. So think about times of stress. How did you handle yourself in extreme stressful situation?
Okay.
How did you handle yourself, and what happened?
Yourself. And, all right.
Right?
So
Like
I've
for me, one of mine is the fact that it was like 4th and 9 and it was overtime and we needed to score a touchdown, right? Like, but how did you handle yourself in that?
sure.
And it's easy for me to go to a physical thing because that's what I did my whole life, right? But it doesn't matter. Like it's crunch time in the office and everyone's freaking the fuck out and you're an attorney and you're like, "Oh my god, the case is tomorrow. What are we going to do?" What did you do? How did you handle yourself in that situation? Maybe
Okay.
someone in your family gets sick, X, Y, and Z, or a loved one of a friend gets sick. Like whatever it is, whatever that stressful situation is, how did you handle yourself? Write all about that. Okay. What else?
What reputation do you want to have? And then words people will describe you as.
Yeah. So what reputation you want to have and or write an obituary,
Yeah.
right?
Um, how do you want people to? How do you want people to respond to you? And the last one I have is find value words to represent you.
Yeah. So I would say add in like whatever your heart's desire is with no limits. What do you want to be, do, or have?
Okay.
Right.
Like blank check.
So add that in there. Yep. And then don't lump what did you say? Words that you want people to describe you as if you're not there. So think about you were
Okay.
just at a party with 30 people and they left. You left. How do you want them to talk about you when you left?
Okay. So you want that two separate things.
Yeah. And then the list of values is just like if you're stuck, pop
Gotcha.
out a list of values and just be like, wow, there's there's 1,000 values here. I'm going to print these pages out and these ones sound awesome. Like,
Okay. So it's just more of a help than actually doing it.
yeah, more of a help if you need it than an actual thing.
Okay.
And
So
then,
I'm going to go ahead and delete that one.
yeah. And then and then the other one that I would say is like, you go into a Starbucks, you go into a cafe, you order a drink. Walk yourself through that mentally. What do you look like? What do you feel like? Are you standing up straight? What do you smell like? What do you order? How does that person receive you? Are they happy to see you there? Or when you leave Whole Foods, do you say hi to everybody? Do you leave, like, what does that feel like? Like, how would it feel if you treated others the best way you knew how, or the way you would assume, right? The Rock does. I mean,
So I have. Go ahead. What?
most people that meet him literally talk about how they feel amazing after. Like, and
Yeah.
then the whole
Super
point of
super good
all of
dude.
this is let's get these down and then start living your life that way. Like, you can go into Starbucks and be that way.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
So I have for that last one. Maybe you can help me. I have describe your ideal self, but that doesn't encompass everything that you're trying to get at.
No, that would be good. Yeah,
Yeah, that
describe your
works.
ideal self. Yeah, and
Okay.
your ideal. Yeah, exactly. Describe your ideal self. It just helps me to describe my ideal self in scenarios.
Okay. All right. So real quick, I'm going to
I'm
go through
like,
them one more
I
time just in
love,
case
I love
anyone didn't get them all down. We've got what makes you feel the most important, what makes you feel the most self-respect in your past, what accomplishment gives you the most sense of pride, how did you handle yourself in times of extreme stress, what reputation do you want to have,
slash
words
slash your own obituary.
slash write your own obituary. Write your own obituary. Thank God for the suggested words at the bottom because I did not know how to spell obituary. Words people describe you as when you're not there. How do you want people to respond to you? Heart's desire / no limits. And describe your ideal self.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a fun little project.
So take all of those, and you'll start to see the next step is you answer all of those things, and then pull words out of each one that are like, whoa, that describes that, right? Like from each thing. Maybe come up, maybe out of each, like what makes you feel the most important after you explain all of the things that make you feel most important.
Sure.
Try to put them into one word, right? Or 5 words of that group. Maybe there's 10 things.
Okay.
These 5 words represent that. Boom. Now you got 5 words for that one. Then you go to what makes you feel the most self-respect. Come up with your thing, and then what 5 words represent everything I just wrote? Like what encompasses that? Boom. Well, 3 of those are the same as above. Cool. Now I have 7, right?
Yeah.
And then what do I want people to describe when I'm not there, and X, Y, and Z? You may come up with a list of 30 values that you see, right? But then let's work on getting that down to like 5. Maybe 7 of them mean the exact same thing, and another 5 mean. In that situation, I felt it, but overarching, I don't necessarily see myself living that every day.
Okay.
Right? But it's a sub-value type of a thing.
Sure.
And so then pull them out and try to come up with 5. And then if you really want to, people really want to go far down, maybe in that 30, 5 of them are for your career and personal, 5 of them are financial, 5 of them are health, and 5 of them are family. So maybe you do have 20 different ones, right? Sure. I like to kind of go with about 5 to 7 that govern my whole life in all aspects.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I'm a simple person. I don't want to remember 20 fucking values. That's just
waste of brain space.
own the principle, and everything else will fall into place. That's it, man.
Dig it, man. And that was like, it's 9 o'clock, spot on an hour. That was fantastic. Boom. Yeah, man. So that was pretty good. I'll definitely get to work on this. And, you know, any of you out there who are watching, if you want to reach out to either one of us, if you need a little help or whatever, a little guidance, have some questions, please feel free. But, yeah, this is a good one, man.
Find me, but Len can direct.
I'll track him down. And also, guys, notice our nice new logo that we got down there. How beautiful is that? Thank you, Ryan Reed. You're my buddy. You've been a best friend of mine forever. He does all my logo work. Cheers to you, sir. Thank you, Ryan. All right.
We need to get Ryan one of these for a thank you.
He'll be at the bachelor party. Yeah. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right, guys. Have a good night, Len. I'll see you. We'll talk later in the week.